All right. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, we'll just do that. Hi, it's me. We're going to do a practice today. So I am sideways. You are welcome to screen record, to jump in, to jump around, jump up and down, however you want it to be. But this is practice time. So we are in my practice zone in my living room where I like to remember that I have a body. And I'm inviting you to remember that as well. Once I start doing the shapes, I have 32 for you and they're free up there. So just go grab them. As many as I have instructions for also has instructions. But I want to start with the healing smile, the healing sounds, which I describe and share often on lives. Now we can do it together. So if it's comfortable to sit this way, have a seat this way. Otherwise, you can sit on a chair. You could lie down on your back. You could just watch or stand. So just taking a couple breaths in through the nose and out of the mouth. And these exhales, they're like the exhale of, the day is done. And just letting the body be and perhaps find what you're on as you're exhaling. It's called sense of bum. And just notice the surface. So the basic guideline for this kind of somatics is you're the boss, truly. You are in charge. Only suffer if you want to. There's no need to suffer. I will probably have to grab a couple props at some point for myself. At minimum, I'm going to need a block. So let's get that. And if you don't have blocks, because this would be like a special thing, you can use a towel. You could use I have friends who like put a bunch of books together and put like, oh, hello, tie them up with like, what's that tape? Duct tape. But this will just make the floor taller or your arm longer or however you need the assistance. If you have the hypermobile tissues like I do, we're gonna pull it back, okay? We're not going for full range of motion. Let's start with the healing smile. Bring the tip of your tongue to the ridge behind your upper teeth and smile. Nice and easy. And you can imagine that your smile is down to where you're connecting with the surface. And that's where we find ground in a literal way, to literally ground onto the whole planet. We don't have to work at all just to exist. And then directing the smile towards your belly. And by directing your smile, all I mean is that you're smiling and imagining that it's going into your belly. If touching your belly is awful or weird, you don't have to touch it. You could have your hands out. You could have them totally away from you. But smiling down and in. And then smiling to the heart area, the whole chest. Crimson Palace, inner child. And then finally to the head, and then we'll be down on the ground. This is the Crystal Palace, our brain. So to make your way into constructive rest position, you might want to grab something like a book that's about an inch thick just to put behind your head. Some folks find that you don't need it so much, so you'll decide what works for you. So lie down on your back with your knees bent and your feet on the floor. And then you can use your just a little bit of a lift here for the back of your head. And then as we set this up, I'm scooching my shoulder blades under me so that I have a little bit more sense of length in the neck and upper back. And just start to settle on. Your eyes can be open or closed. And here it's to tend to notice the parts of you that are touching the ground. So here it would be the soles of your feet, your hips, shoulders, whatever parts of your arm are on the ground, backs of your hands. And let your breath be any way that it is. It's okay if it's fast. It can be through your mouth or your nose, deep or shallow, it's all good. So constructive rest position. When you're exploring this on your own, you could stay here for 5-10 minutes if you wanted to. In time, part of what happens with this shape is the psoas muscle. It's a muscle that's very active during stress response. It'll relax just a bit. So we're way, even though you're just lying here, very deep into the connective tissue, deep into the fascial layers in the body, just by existing and breathing, and the extent that you're able to today, to soften onto the ground. And then experimenting with some variations of this. If you bring your chin to one side and tuck it in, you'll get a little bit of a stretch on the opposite side of your neck. Norman, please don't eat that. You can just be here for a few breaths. As long as it feels good. It doesn't have to be formal in order to be useful or beneficial. And again, so we're just letting the shape of the body and gravity do the work. The effort, I find, is the still part. Sometimes it's work just to be, right? And then bringing your chin into center and over to the other side. And I'll remind you, all of these shapes are for free. They're up in my tree. There's 32 of them. So I'm going through them right now. Variation here in constructive rest position. Bring it on back into center. And take a breath in through your nose and out of your mouth. So next we're going to reach the shoulder blades up off the ground, keeping the head on the ground or towards the ground. And maybe the shoulders don't come off, but it's just to reach. You'll feel it in your back. And after several of these, let the arms come down into a cactus shape. That's going to bring a gentle opening, a gentle lengthening to your chest and into the inside line of the arms, which can get very active, very used while we're on our phones, especially with all the thumb stuff we do. So these are called goalpost arms or cactus arms, depending on where you are. And the doing here again is being. If you are a fidgeter, please fidget. If you stim, if like this wants to happen, let it happen. Okay, so the idea here is resonance, not regulation. You might notice with your arms here, the experience of your upper back and how it's relating to the surface you're on, that might change. You might feel more connection, more weight, more like, it's like inner melting down. We do so much to hold ourselves up. So here it's to allow as much as we can gravity. Make sure I don't guide you in a different direction. After the constructive rest, we're going to move back into a seat. So you can do that by coming onto your side. Say hello to the kitties. And then sit back up. Back into, this is called an easy seat or a simple seat. Crisscross applesauce, sometimes folks call it. Some bodies feel better lifted on something when you're sitting like this, especially if your knees and ankles don't like to turn like this. So experiment, always. I feel like everything is customizable to you and me, specific to whatever's happening right now, all the time. Sometimes that might mean not doing something, but you can always adjust, at least to my mind. After 40 years, I would say, you can always adjust. So we're gonna move now a little bit with seated cat and cow. Let me move to the side here so that you can perceive the movement. So keeping the hips on the ground, nice and solid, sense of bum. Bringing the chest up like you're a proud, proud papa. And then tuck your chin in and curve and round your spine. This is like the nautilus going into its shell. You might find that you just naturally inhale into this expansion and exhale into the contraction. Right? So the inhale expands, and then the exhale leaves room for the folding. I'll just take a few of that. It's kind of like a walk, like a gentle, easy walk in the park. So there's no real desire. Well, you can have a desire, but there's no need. There's no need to get anything right. Because all you need to do is be here. And just stop in the center and take a breath. Go ahead and switch the cross of your legs. We'll do a moment here for your neck. Bring an arm out to the side and the other ear to the shoulder. And what you're going to find is this is going to bring sensation to the arm, to the shoulder. Sometimes I'll feel it into my back. As much as you're able to keep the chest lifted and keep like you're sitting, and just let the shape of the arm and the head bring sensation. You can increase the sensation if you want to by bringing your opposite hand to the head and just let the weight of your arm bring a little bit more into that. We're looking for tissue experiences, not bones, not joints, tissue. So it's going to be subtle for a lot of us. The way you come out of this is keep your head relaxed, bring your hand to your cheek, and use your arm to lift your head up. Take a breath. And then over to the other side. Just finding, I call it the just right sensation. Sensational, but not so much, right? TMJ stuff, jaw stuff, sometimes you might make some weird faces. See if you can find a little bit of freedom, a little bit of softening. And if you're looking for anything here, just notice that you're breathing. You might even notice where you are in your breath, whether you're moving more towards an inhale or an exhale. And again, we can add sensation if you want by bringing your hand to your head. You're just going to let the weight, no pull, just the weight. Increase sensation, and we're looking for sensation you can be with, not sensation you have to manage. Just easy breaths. And then again, you dismount by using your arms so your head can stay relaxed. And take a breath. Let's get some side body in this. So same idea, but now we're going to reach over and think about anchoring through this opposite side so that the reach and the stretch, we're a little active here, and then you feel for sensation and stretch, especially from your armpit to your waist. My palm is facing down. Some palms like to face up. Down is going to be less torque. If you face your palm up, you'll be twisting. So that's something you can experiment with as well. But it's the reach of that arm that's going to increase or decrease your sensation so that the base of your shape, the base of you, stays as it is. And just keeping things nice and soft, maybe not even bringing your head up. Start to come over to the other side. And then anchoring through this hip and letting that arm go. And I'll remind you, all these shapes, they're all free. I put them up in my tree. There's 32. This nice, easy breath. Just keeping your head relaxed. Come on back up to center. Use your arm to lift your head. Okay, so once the neck relaxes, we're just being super, super chill, super, super soft with the head. Okay, this is where the vagus nerve enters the body. So we're going to keep it nice and soft. And our vagus nerve can resonate, not just regulate. This is a circle. Sometimes the circle works. Sometimes it doesn't. That's okay. If you have a tendency for your bones to dislocate, as mine do, I will often have ribs go back in when I'm doing this kind of a movement. Some bodies, you might find that it's the other way, right? That it's destabilizing. And if it's destabilizing, I just decide whether you want to be less stable. In my experience, it's usually better to stay more stable. Destabilizing would be like your ribs slipping. And then we're back to center. Nice and easy. Getting a little bit of a twist here. Switch your legs again. Go ahead and turn towards your right leg. Start to fold forward. If all of this comes up, we're just going to go over this leg to the degree or to the degree that your hips stay pretty much on the ground. So for some of us, this is going to be where you are. For some, we'll go down. Whether or not you go down here, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're paying attention to the base of your shape. The base of your shape is your bum, not your idea about your bum. So I have this arm braced on the ground so that my back hip here stays down, and I'm still getting a nice stretch. It's also giving me less depth in the shape, which is, I believe, beneficial for my hypermobile tissue. I would not speak to yours personally without knowing you personally. And then we'll take it over to the other side, just kind of like crawling over. It's an easy pose with like a, call it like a forward side bend. How did I label it? Easy pose, forward, bend, side. Close. So the document that I put together has cartoon humans on it. It's not me. And they're all different shapes and colors and genders. Pulling back up to center. And take a breath. Next is tabletop. It's going to put pressure on your knees. So depending on your knees, that might not work for you today. My knees require padding. So I pretty much always have something around that I can just, so that my 55-year-old kneecaps aren't fully on my hardwood floors. And then to set up tabletop, your knees are under your hips, hands are under shoulders. So this is a pretty square shape. Depending on your wrists, it might feel better to make a fist with your hand and come up onto your fists, onto your knuckles, because that'll keep your wrists straight. You can play with very subtle traction by extending the crown of your head forward and imagine your tailbone reaching back. It'll be just like an inside thing. And I'm also kind of like pushing the floor away just a bit. So this is kind of active. And then moving into cat and cow here. So the belly drops and the chin lifts. Here I am in a back bend, looking for stretch on the front. Holding here for a moment so that the experience is the drop of the belly increases sensation on the belly. If it is bringing pinching and discomfort into the back, you would do less. And then the complementary side would be to tuck your chin in, round the spine. And now with the rounded spine, looking for sensation on your back. And by looking for, I'm talking about with your attention, right? So that when you look for sensation without making yourself have to feel it, at a minimum, it'll bring your attention to the area of your body that's getting a little bit of a moment here. And for a lot of us, that's enough to start cultivating and strengthening what people call this mind-body connection. It's a literal thing. It's where you put your mind in and on your body. This is a fluid cat-cow where you just kind of turn into a little snake, little puppy dog. I'm not sure how you contemplate it, but hands and knees stay where they are. And then just letting yourself kind of like move if you want to. And then we are back down on the belly. Make a pillow with your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. This is like lying down on your belly, Shavasana, just like resting on your belly. Sometimes it's called crocodile pose. As you're here, you might notice that your inhales bring a sense of pressure between your belly and the ground. And then your exhale kind of relieves some of that pressure. I wouldn't force it. And sometimes this can be an easier way to feel breathing than just standing and thinking about it, because there's resistance in the ground. Legs are soft and relaxed. Belly to the ground. You might even contemplate how the umbilical cord is connected to the earth, to lineage, to community, to humanity, because it is. And then coming into a back bend called Sphinx pose. So bring your elbows underneath your shoulders and your chin, the farther up your chin is, the more torque on the neck. I would suggest keeping your chin pretty much in line with your chest and let your arms hold you up. So if you're already in practice, you can make this sloppy by letting the chest sink. You're going to notice my ears and shoulders get closer. And so now I have a little bit more gravity on my side. Where you feel this or where you're looking for sensation is in the low back. Some low backs reject this outright, and if you have a low back like that, I would suggest you follow what it says. This is fully out of order. Excellent. Your legs will probably try to hold you up in this because our legs are really good at holding us. So try to keep your cheeks, your seat, your thighs, try to keep them soft. And as you continue to explore a shape like this, you might put a timer on for maybe 2 or 3 minutes and just see what that's like. Just see what it's like. You don't have to stay there that long. And then when you're done, come back down onto your belly. Now we're going to do something fancy here. It's going to be real exciting. So take a couple breaths. Several part pose here. The first part is to bring your knee out to the side and keep this leg on the ground. So it's like a 90-degree, almost like you're sleeping on your belly, sleeping on your stomach. Just letting your breath be. Creative napping. The second part of this pose is to take the opposite arm and thread it through. So my right knee is out, my left arm comes through. That's going to pinch a little bit into the upper chest. That might not feel good. If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. So the third part of this shape is to open up into a chest stretch without going all the way into a twist. So it's just to extend. My upper hand, this hand is reaching, everything else is melting. Or I'm asking it to melt. I love this stretch for my mastectomy scar, which to this day, after 5 years, I'm in pain daily in my soft tissue. This is so nice for it. And then the dismount is just the opposite. So we'll bring this arm down, this arm through, And then that leg back. Take a breath. And onto the other side. So the knee bends out. It's a nice, easy way into the hips for a lot of us. It's not going to be as intense as like folding forward and turning yourself into origami. And thread this arm through. It's called threading the needle. So again, it'll put the pressure on this shoulder. Letting the body soften. And then when you're feeling it, other arm reaches up, and we're not going into a twist. We're looking for a chest moment. So reaching with the lifted arm, letting the rest of your body soften if it will, and if it won't, that's okay. Sometimes I have to let my exhale bring the soft. You can do that as well. So I have a little trick for getting out of this onto your back. You're going to follow this upper arm down to the ground. And now you'll be back on your back. And you just need to sort of scoot back over if you're on a mat. Even if you're not, try to get back into your constructive rest position. Grab a block if you have it. Otherwise, you'll grab your towel that's rolled up or pillow. This is another one of those moments where you don't have to go to your full extent, especially if you're hypermobile. So it's called supported bridge. We're just bringing the hips off the ground. Okay, they don't have to be as high as they can go. Once you're in this shape, most of your weight in your upper body should be on your shoulders so that you're not resting on your head. I'll show you a couple variations once we're here. This is a lovely end of the day shape, especially if you sit for your job. It can open up the front of the low back in a nice way. If you want to start to get into your hip flexors, you might explore straightening your legs. In my experience, this is either yes or no. If it's a no, don't do it. Your body will be obvious. So the back bend might feel a little bit crunchy in the back, but you're looking for the stretch in the front. So if it's more crunchy in the back than stretch in the front, you might come down on your block. You might do a little bit less height. Again, this is for the tissues, not for like mobility, joint, blah, 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 blah. We're just like, hey man, hello fascia. How are you today? You can even explore extending your arms above you. Nice, easy breath. Making your way out of this, again, just reverse the steps. So the arms come down, Then the legs return. Then the hips lift. Come back down to the ground. Two options here. Knock-kneed pose is your knees together with your feet separated. Reclining butterfly is feet together, knees separated. Most humans are going to benefit from having something under your knees here. Again, just because of the hypermobile or mobility even at that moment. Pardon me. That was a rip. Okay. So reclining butterfly pose. This can feel very vulnerable if you've had any kind of trauma to your pelvis. And you don't have to stay vulnerable if you don't want to. You can bring your knees together and lie down on your back. So my hands just kind of naturally found my ribs here, my belly. Your hands might stay on the ground. They can be wherever they want to be. And just letting your breath exist. This is another shape that some folks like to stay in for 3-4 minutes. You're welcome to if you'd like. As your thighs relax here, it's a little bit like the neck, right? So we're going to help the legs up by bringing your hands to your thighs and bringing your knees in. Maybe rolling a little bit, especially in the low back. You can move your legs, your knees. I'm going to gracefully see what my next shapes here were for you. Next is figure 4 back release. I'm going to show you how to do it on a wall. You might already know figure 4 like from the gym. It's a common shape. The wall is a wonderful ally. It can be hard to get down gracefully, so we're just going to let it be, however it is. Lying with your seat towards the wall and your feet on the wall. Okay, then cross one ankle over one thigh. Options are to fold yourself in, but why do that when you can just get closer to the wall and then let the wall fold you? Where I want you to be looking to feel is in your bum. Pain in the ankle and knees, no good. No. We're going for the seat. You might even try not pushing your knee, but just noticing how it can be here. For some folks, you're gonna be up here, right? Because hey, guess what? It doesn't really matter how flexible you are. It matters where you start feeling. That's all. I can remember, especially like after my stroke, I was in so much pain. I was like crossing my ankles and taking 3 breaths, and that was good enough. This is a nice shape to explore the whole like feeling in the tissues thing, because our hips are such big joints. The ligaments and tendons in our hips are massive. The connective tissue is very dense. This is an area that is often cited as like a location for storing trauma. And it doesn't have to be horrendous. Like, I broke my tailbone as a kid, so this whole area of my body is really fun. Let's switch sides. Reminding you, all of these are in your, there's a free download on my link tree. There are 32 shapes. There will be more. So we're going to twist, twist, healing sounds, and then be done. For the twist, I invite you to explore the wall, which would just be to bring your knees over and keep your feet on the wall. Shoulder stays on the ground. I personally do not like torquing my neck all that much, but if you want, you can look over towards this hand. I know I talk about tensegrity a lot. This is a tensegrity thing, right? To be in a shape, to have time in a shape, and then also to like explore, adjust, change, make decisions. All of that is about discovering and defining for yourself how much tension is appropriate. Some of us need more. Some of us need squeezing, right? Some of us need to just let go. So we'll come out of this just by coming onto your side and sitting up. And next we'll do the healing sounds, and then we'll be on with our day. So the first sound is for your lungs, and it's an S. You're going to start with your palms facing up, fingers towards each other. On your inhale, imagine that you're breathing in courage. Make an S on the exhale and let grief go with the S, right? So we're inhaling courage, exhale grief, S. Inhale courage, exhale grief, S. Inhale courage, exhale grief, S. Take a breath. The next organ is your kidneys. This is the experience of shock, calm. The sound is chew. So inhaling calm. It's not a whole cat and cow, but a little bit. Exhale shock with chew. Chew. Inhale calm. Let go of shock. Chew. Calm on the inhale. Shock on the exhale. One more calm. And shock. Take a breath. Your liver is next. This is anger and forgiveness. The sound is shush. Shh. So interlace your fingers, bring your arms over your head. Breathe in forgiveness. Let go of anger with shush. Shh. Inhale to forgive. Exhale anger. Shh. Doesn't need to be specific. We're just doing it like brushing our teeth. Inhale forgiveness. Exhale anger. Relax. The heart is next. This is love and hate. You might even switch the threading of your fingers, breathing in love, let go of hate with ha. Inhale love, let go of hate. Inhale love, let go of hate. Arms down, take a breath. The last organ sound is for your spleen. It's a whoo, almost like an owl in the distance. The paired emotions are trust and worry. So we're gonna breathe in trust, very tiny little bit of pressure, letting worry go, just a little bit. Inhale, trust. Exhale, worry. Inhale, trust. Exhale, worry. Trust and worry. And take a breath. The last sound is a balancing sound to warm the cold feet and cool the hot head. It's he. It's just a very silent, very quiet he. And you'll just come to a breath. And find the inner smile. Find your sense of bum. And then we can just end with 3 breaths in through the nose and out of the mouth. Take a breath in and out. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Breathe in and out. Well, anybody who has been here with me, I thank you so much for being here. I remind you, there are free resources all over. I'm giving them away, giving away the yoga. So go to my link tree, get this, 32 postures. There's a ton of other stuff. I hope you have a really wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.